Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Critical Reactions with your host, Bryan. We're going to do a special selection today, which is where one of you tell me exactly what it is I need to check out. Today's special selection comes at us from Autumnsphere, Italian progressive technical doom modern melodic death metal. That is a mouthful. Lunarsea, five-sided platform shape. Five-sided platform shape. I don't know. Unless we're just talking about uh, like a pentagon, but flat, like a platform, like a five-sided platform. I don't know though. Why does that sound like that is a weird way to describe that? Especially since most platforms are rectangular. I don't know. Let's get into this and see what's going on with Lunarsea. Yeah, so we're still in 4/4, but we're working on a 3/3/2 pattern there. Ooh, what is that symbol? Assuming that's our chorus, there's a lot of elements in that are attention grabbing. Really interesting that our drums are continuing on with that rhythmic stuff, but the guitars went for chords, atmosphere. Ooh. The drummer is real fun. Oh, again, what? I was a little afraid, but I called it. This is the chorus. What? Oh man. We got to talk about that chorus first before I forget about it. There's there's so many odd choices going on in there. And some of them are just extrapolations of other odd choices. So I don't know if I should start with the chorus, but I'm going to because there's a lot of details in here I don't want to forget. And then we'll tie these topics into other things. First is the vocals. There is this harsh sound where he says something akin to ow, and it gets reverberated and panned, but oddly, it also grows in volume with the reverbs. The first time is not too bad, but the second, third, fourth, and fifth time are louder than the core vocals. This, to me, is supposed to be an embellishing element. It's a vocalization that fills an extra space. No different than, a pop vocalist doing the oohs and ahs, these beautiful runs that don't have any lyrics to them, just the sounds. It's an extra musical element aside from lyrical content. And they're usually done around the lyrics. They don't usually overpower them. So it's really interesting to hear this embellishing vocalization that it overpowers the lyrics that are being done by the same vocals. Not only that though, but it kind of begins to overpower everything. It's difficult to pay attention to anything else when these things not only have a dynamic quality to them with the ping ponging back and forth, it's going to grab your attention, but also being louder than everything, especially by the last one or two echoes of it. It is a neat idea. The production on it, I think, is interesting, counterintuitive for what I would expect its usage to be. There is another aspect of the chorus that I think is very ear catching, very attention grabbing, and that is I don't know, there is a symbol. I don't know what it's called. I've never heard a timbre like this. It's like a symbol made out of aluminum, which is like the weirdest thing I think I've said on this channel so far. And I've said some weird stuff. But that's what it sounds like to me. It's got this crunchy, tangy sound. And I know tangy is like it's a flavor thing, and sometimes I do like use food metaphors, but I just mean like it makes like a tang sound, like tang tang tang, like as an onomatopoeia. It is it's a very wide, blunt cymbal sound. And it just pierces through everything else in the mix, really asking for the attention. And it comes right off the back of this owl vocalization. So that grabs my attention. I'm like, okay, that's gone. Let's hear what's going on. And then this I don't know, trash can lid comes in. And I'm like, oh, geez, what is that? And then I'm like, okay, that goes away. Now I can focus on other things. Then the vocalist brings the ow sound back, and it's just there's so many things that are going on that as much as I try, continue to distract me from the core element of this chorus, which is the guitar chords, which is our vocals, which is the bass work and the drumming, the rest of the drum kit, those snare rolls. There's some really cool stuff going on here that I keep getting my attention pulled away from. It is a confusing chorus, I would say. And I don't know what they're going for with it. I don't think any of those elements are bad. It's mostly production, I think. Although I don't know if you, even like if you tune down the volume on that cymbal to where it didn't stand out so much, I think just the raw timbre of it is still going to be ear catching. It is so different than everything else in the kit. In fact, I think it's different characteristic wise than every sound in the song. I think it's going to stand out no matter what. I'm not going to say that this band shouldn't have used it. I'm not going to say that any band shouldn't use sounds like that or that they should stick with a specific sound profile. But I think you need to know what you're aiming for. And if they're aiming for a distracting chorus, then they certainly achieved that. But if they're not, which the rest of the song didn't utilize these distracting elements and kept everything in a sort of hierarchy, if they were of equal weight in the spotlight, then they had equal weight in their composition. You know, if it was more of an embellishment idea or an atmospheric idea, it had less weight in the EQ. Everything was built in a more traditional fashion as far as the engineering goes. And then we get to this part, and the least important aspects are screaming the loudest. It's just, again, it's not wrong, it's just different. But at least to me, it's different in a way that is distracting, that takes away from uh, the moment. There is one last thing I want to hit on in the chorus. It was only in the last chorus, and it was only for one word. We had a clean vocal. And this made me laugh so much because first I thought, okay, you know, some bands, they're primarily clean vocalists, right? Especially you see this in radio bands or at least singles often, where you'll have like 99% of the song is clean, and then maybe they'll layer in a harsh vocal on top of a big moment in the final chorus, and you just get that one harsh vocal, and that's it. Enough to add the grit, but not enough to be too heavy for the radio, if that makes sense. And this was the inverse of that. We got one clean note. And it made me laugh so hard because it's kind of absurd. Like the inverse is absurd too, but I think it's just more normalized. We just kind of we hear that so often, you know, or just having a heavy bridge where you have, you know, two sentences of screamed vocals before you get back to the clean stuff. Like that's just kind of a normalized thing. But if a band is heavy, if they use harsh vocals, primarily like this, even massively in the majority, you just really don't expect clean vocals to be done in that manner. But we do get this one word, and it's this really nice note. It works well against the guitar. It creates a little bit of harmony that we really haven't heard prior to this. A lot of our guitar riffage has been in unison. So we have an odd bit of harmony, we have an odd bit of clean vocals, and it was done in the middle of the phrase, sort of at the reset point where we had finished our phrase, and now we were repeating it, and I was expecting it to come at the end of this one as well, but then it it didn't. So it wasn't even done to end the song. I wouldn't even say it was done at the big moment. It was just done at a bigger moment in our final chorus. And I don't. Oh man, why? And y'all are probably looking at me like, why is this dude laughing so much at this? It's not that funny, but it's just, it's so absurd and unexpected. Both because of how irregular this concept is, the fact that it's an inversion of a fairly regular concept, and that it was done at a section that I don't think would have been the one that I would have done it at, and it wasn't repeated like it was alluded to. It was just everything about it is difficult for me to wrap my mind around. Uh, I'm gonna get off this course though. Just a really strange part of this song. It's almost like the whole song was written by a different band, or maybe it was written by them, whatever. And someone else wrote the chorus in the style of the band, and it fits. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a lot of smaller, odd choices that give it a different flair than everything else in the song. Also, I nailed that. I called it the chorus, and we got 4 minutes into this track with less than a minute to go, and I was like, maybe it wasn't a chorus. This is a completely linear song. Nope, they pulled it back in the last 30 seconds, so I called it. I'm happy about that. It felt like a chorus, but they were scaring me. Now, the rest of the song is kind of composed very differently, where that one is primarily focused. I didn't even touch on like how the chorus was composed. We have growls with a repeating pattern rhythmically. We have guitars that are primarily focused on chords. They do play the chords a bit faster. They have a little bit of a rhythmic idea to them. It's not like they're just holding them out, but it is primarily concerned with the chord progression, not with riffing. And the drums are primarily focused on taking a beat and leaning into it. They're not trying to change it up. They're not trying to embellish it. There's a couple of fills in there that's pretty typical for drumming, but this is our beat. We're going to stick with it. So everything in the chorus is rather, well, comparatively, we're going to call it subdued. It's simple. The rest of the song is not like that. And this just kind of leans into the idea. It feels like the chorus was written by somebody else to fit in their style. I don't know if that's true. That's kind of what it feels like to me, though. So the rest of the song, though, is composed in a manner of technicality, flashy technicality at times, interesting technicality at other times. Not as technical, but interesting choices. And what I mean by this is some of our technical stuff is our guitars will just be playing super fast, and then they'll put in these really fast runs. And then we'll move from that into like a double time open tone riff real quick before moving into a moving melody, right? That was at one time when I was like, oh, I was like, I don't know what they did. I think it was palm muted 30-second notes, and it just sounded like phaser fire, like a phaser machine gun. It was wild, especially coming off the back of constant 16th notes. 16th notes are typically the speed that a lot of faster metal plays. 30-second notes are difficult to keep up for extended periods of time. They don't get used as often, and I feel like sometimes they just get forgotten to get used. You get in the 16th note groove, and you just kind of lay in it, and you play up with lengths. Maybe you'll do 5 notes back to back, and then 7 back to back, and then 6 back to back. So you have variation without changing how fast you're playing. And they threw that really quick one time grouping of 30-second notes, and that was slick. But yeah, for the most part, it's this riffage. Sometimes they sit on a pedal note, sometimes they have movement to it. I couldn't really find a pattern for when they were going to do one versus the other, which kind of kept me on my toes, but was just neat overall listening to this feat of endurance, both for both hands. Not a lot of melody, sorry, not a lot of harmony. Both of the guitars, if there were two guitars, maybe there isn't. I don't think there's any harmony on this track guitar wise, so maybe there's only one guitarist. Let me see if I. Nope, I do not have personnel list. Oh, there we go. We have a vocalist, two guitarists. One of the guitarists does keyboards. I didn't hear any keyboards on this. We have a bassist who also does the clean vocals, and our drummer. So there are two guitars. If there are moments of harmony, I've either forgotten about them or I missed them. I primarily remember the guitar being a singular instrument, note wise. Um, so, like I said, it's just kind of weird they had harmony at all in that final chorus. Um, but yeah, the guitars are just, you never really know what they're going to do next. It's going to be fast, but it could be anything. The drums, oops, sorry, the drums are a very similar way. You never really know what they're going to do next, but it's going to be impressive. Um, and so we get some stuff that I don't even remember if I could recall all of this. There are some really fun ideas in the drums, and they continue to change things up. Unlike the chorus, which was, this is our drum beat, we're going to stick with it for the entirety, the drummer was like, okay, we're in a new section, here's our drum beat, we're going to do it for 4 bars, and you know what, here's a new drum beat. 3 bars later, oh, also, this is the end of this phrase. We're going to do a new drum beat in another bar, but, I'm tired of this one already, so I'm going to shift from the front of the beat to the back of the beat. We're going to shift from accenting 1 and 3 to 2 and 4. And then the next phrase comes in, and we've listened to it for a bar. It feels like the drummer got bored of it already. We're only a bar into it, and the drummer's like, okay, you know what? I'm going to start accenting off beats. Also, on the third bar, I'm going to delay the downbeat. We're not going to get it until the next beat, but we're also going to play, assuming we're on 1 and 3. I'm not going to give you the 1. I'm going to give you the 2, but we're still going to play 3 because we're on 1 and 3. And it's just, I don't know. The drumming feels like scatterbrained. It never wants to stick to one idea for very long. We introduced dotted quarters in the middle of a phrase that we've repeated twice, just out of nowhere. The rest of the band isn't doing it. The drummer's just like, yeah, I'm tired of this. Let's throw some dotted quarters in here. Let's push against the pulse a little bit. I've been filling. I've been ending my fills with the crash cymbal, so let me get this little tiny, like a 5-inch cymbal to get this really bright sound at the end of this fill, and never uses that cymbal again. It is, as far as, because this word's probably not going to make sense to some people in this context. As far as my expectations for what the drummer is doing and where they're going, their drumming style is wacky. It never, I mean that specifically, other than the chorus, which I still view as like this separate entity from the track, from the rest of the track, I don't think the drummer ever landed on what I was expecting based on what they were doing. They had a map. Actually, we had the same map, but they were reading it upside down and did not care. And it's phenomenal. It really is. It adds a lot of spice and zest to the track that honestly really didn't stand out to me in a lot of ways. It's an impressive show of musicianship. There's some really great composition in here as far as raw technicality, but just as a whole, casually, it's impressive to listen to, but not something I'm probably going to check out again. Um, but the drums make me want to come back because this drummer is just bonkers in all the right ways. And I think I had used the phrase, the drummer is real fun. I think I said something like that. Or the drumming is fun. And that's exactly what I meant. The drummer never really sat in one idea for too long without introducing some oddity to the concept. And the guitars kept me listening. What are they going to do next? Are they going to do a run Are they going to do a pedal tone? Are they going to chug? But in the end, the drums are just a lot of playing fast around a pentatonic scale. It sounds like technical metal. Although I guess to me it almost feels like thrash metal. Guitar wise, I don't know. I think it's just the scales they're using and playing fast. Um, this was described as melodic technical death, right? Oh, technical doom death. Yeah, see, there's just a lot of words in there. Technical doom, modern melodic death. Yeah, there's no way I was going to have any expectations from that. This, like I said, though, this just kind of feels like cleaner thrash to me, guitar wise. I'm not talking about the drums or the vocals. The drums just feel like thrash to me. Um, but the drums keep me around. The drums keep me interested. Um, I already commented that the structure is mostly linear. We had to return to our chorus at the end with a slight variation in the middle of it. Oh man, I'm gonna be thinking about that for days. The bassist came in for one note to do a clean vocal. Oh man. The vocals are, I mean, they're growls. They're not my cup of tea, but I'm acclimating to them. They don't really stand out to me. They are pushed down in the mix a bit, which I think is just kind of death metal. Um, yeah, I think that's really all I wanted to talk about then was the drums and the chorus. Those are the two things that stood out to me the most. Everything else is just kind of fast playing death doom. Death doom just doesn't sound like technical doom. I don't know, man. I wonder what Rate Your Music says. I'm gonna check this real quick. Rate Your Music. What's this band called? Lunarsea. That's actually a really good. Oh, of course. Well, I'll have to check that out later. I use a VPN, and some of the IP addresses I get given are blocked on Rate Your Music. And I don't feel like messing with that right now. So, anyways, I'm curious what the Rate Your Music community has landed on because the genre I was given is a mouthful, if albeit accurate in a sense. It is a lot. Um. Anyways, I want to touch on that. The band's name is Lunarsea, which is pretty cool because it sounds like moon ocean, right? Lunar and sea, but it also sounds like lunacy, which is actually the word is derived from the word lunar because it was associated with I don't know, time or something. I don't remember exactly where it came from, but the idea it was of like losing your mind, but it was in relation to the rise and fall of the sun or something like that. When the moon came out, you went crazy, so they called it Lunarsea. And we eventually just kind of refined it down to lunacy, I think. I don't know. I'm not a linguist, especially not a historical linguist, so I might be a little off on some of those details. Of course, as usual, go look it up. Uh, I'm usually here to point people in a direction. I get like half the details right, unless it's music, and I feel like I'm usually kind of spot on. I'm going to hit some lyrics. We're going to see what's going on here, and then we're going to wrap this up. It helps when the buttons get pushed properly. What? Here's the thing. I don't understand what's going on here in totality. Our chorus describes a man on a five-sided platform shape in a lost sea. So the rest of the song almost sounds as if we're looking at some sort of ritual. is kind of where I think this is going, but just a lot of these lines I have a tough time getting a strong read off of. But what I am really impressed by is the imagery of it all. I was kind of taken aback right at the start. I had no idea what was going on, but I really love the words used to describe the environments. It says, "'Cause sky dress a veil of clouds, forgotten steps echo in the hydro desert. It neither can't convince nor train truth is a skeptic's son." It paints a profound picture of something I can't see. And I think that's fascinating. I can understand the gist, I can feel the energy, but I have no idea what the words mean coming together. And that right there is fascinating on its own. I think it speaks to the vocabulary used and the way that the words are used. That even if you don't know what's being said, you still understand the vibe. That's not something that just any lyricist can do. I like this line too. "The keeper enrobed of rationality's feathers." But yeah, there's just, like I said, I kind of get the gist. We got some sort of ritual on a platform in the middle of an ocean. There's a storm overhead, and I don't know what the ritual's for. I don't really know what's going on, but all of it sounds cool and is dripping with character. And I can get behind that. So I know I kind of riffed on the song a little bit, uh, but for most of the criticisms I had, and as often as I had a chuckle from the music, I don't look down on it. I think it's a jam. I don't really understand it all the time, lyrically or musically, um, but I'm intrigued. Plus, I need to listen to more of that drumming. I will probably check out some of this on my own. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it. I highly doubt this would end up on any of my favorite albums list, favorite band or anything like that. But there is something about this band that calls out to me. It says, "Hey, check out more of my stuff." Those are my thoughts on Lunarsea's five-sided platform shape. Have we listened to them before? Maybe in a live. I don't know. The band name sounds familiar. Anyways, those are my thoughts. Getting sidetracked. What'd you think, though? Did you enjoy it? Anything that stood out to you? Anything you'd like to correct me on or add on to what I said? Or just tell me about your experience while listening to it, especially if it was vastly different from mine. Let me know all that down in the comment section. Above that, if you could, head into the description box and find a link to Linktree. Takes you to this place right here. Has links for everything related to the channel. You can find multiple ways to support the channel, a link to my music, and a link to the Discord community, as well as a bunch of other stuff. Go ahead and check it out. Above that, if you could, like, subscribe, and ring the bell. I greatly appreciate all three. That wraps it up for today. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 10 p.m. UTC as usual. We'll check out some more music from bands that have broken up and another special selection. Until next time, remember to be critical, not cynical, of the music you listen to, and have a fantastic morning, afternoon, or evening whenever you choose to watch my videos.